This is the Shoulda Bet More podcast, presented by Gold Boys Network. Here's your host, Will Hill.
Welcome to the Shoulda Bet More podcast, presented by Gold Boys. Coming up on the show, Mitch Moss of Follow the Money will join us. We'll talk some Major League Baseball, get his thoughts on some of these pennant races. I guess on June 1st, maybe it's too early to call these pennant races, but the playoff picture in general, try to figure out the 12 playoff teams in Major League Baseball, get his thoughts on some of these struggling teams, the division races he's excited about, futures, NBA and NHL finals as the Cup final starts tonight here on Wednesday, and the NBA final starts on Thursday. It has been weird the last few days. You get into this routine really since middle of April where it's NBA every night, NHL every night for people that like hockey, and it's multiple games all the time. And by the conference finals, you're down to 4 total series, but it's still, you get games pretty much every night. And then since the Knicks and Pacers wrapped on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, no NBA, no NHL, it has been you could feel the summer here as a sports fan where it's just baseball. It's a lot of college baseball, and the college baseball's been insane with all of the upsets. Murray State is a monster underdog beating Ole Miss. Arkansas Little Rock beating LSU once, having a lead in the second game. Georgia getting eliminated. Texas. I mean, you go down the line. There's just been crazy, crazy upsets. That's an underrated sport, college baseball. A lot of fun to watch. But I'll start with the NBA, and you know what? I'll start with some of what I mentioned on the Monday show here. Just I think this is a horrible matchup for Indy. I think that people that think Indy has a chance, that are giving Indy a chance, I think are falling a little bit in love with the story. Now maybe we'll look back in a week and 10 days and say, you know what, I completely underrated them. I dismissed them. That's possible. But it reminds me a little bit of a couple things. 2 years ago, Heat Nuggets, where the Heat pulled off all these upsets, and by the time you got to the finals, people were so scarred from picking against them that it was like if you can't beat them, you join them, and they just jumped on board with Miami, and Nuggets won that in 5. Wasn't really a sweat. And TCU Georgia in the national championship game, college football, a few years ago, where people just got caught up in the story, and by the time they got to the final, the championship game, people were betting TCU. Hand over fist. That was a very public underdog. And I usually get into like the betting splits or, who's a public underdog, who's on what side of it. I just think people sometimes get caught up in the story. I think that, again, this is just a horrendous matchup for Indy. They're going to try to fight fire with fire. And, it goes for basketball, it goes for football too, any sport with a clock. When you're the lesser team, and they're clearly the lesser team here, when you're taking on a big favorite, you want to slow the game down. You want to limit possessions. Denver did that against OKC, where they got it to a half-court game. They had the best player in the world. You don't want to run. You don't want to push the pace. You don't want to play up tempo. And these are all things Indy's going to do. Indy's going to try to outrun and outgun OKC. I just don't think that's the recipe. I don't think that's the formula. I think OKC wins here. I'll actually lay. There's some 8.5. There's some 9. I'll lay OKC here. I'll call it 9. Although there are enough 8.5s, I think you can justify laying. You can call it 8.5. You know what? 9. There's more 9s than 8.5s. Call it 9. I think OKC wins. I think they cover. I think this game gets out of hand, and I think they win both of these in OKC in pretty dominant fashion. And plus 330 to sweep, I still think is a good bet, because I think by the time you get to game 3, you'll be like a 4-point favorite or so in that game, and you can figure out what to do. You could buy back a little on Indiana. You could just hope OKC wins that game. And then if it ever got to a game 4 and it's 3-0, you're sitting pretty. And obviously there's a bunch of different ways to go with that ticket. So I don't think this is going to be a very competitive final. It's going to be exciting from a style of play standpoint where both teams are running. I mean, you look at game 1, the total's been bet up to 231. So it's going to be a lot. It's going to be quick. It's not going to be boring. I just don't think it's going to be competitive. I just don't see a path here for Indy to be competitive. They've got so many guys to throw at Halliburton. They've got so many different options defensively, whether it's, Caruso or Dort. I mean, you just go down the line. There are so many good defenders for them. You could throw Wallace at him. And I think they'll attack Halliburton on the other side of the floor on defense. And there's just not a lot of weaknesses for OKC to be attacked defensively. They're just a very good team, a very complete team. And look, this team is 80-18 at this point. They're an all-time dominant team. They just don't have the past history here as a champion. So they're not viewed as a great team yet, an all-time great team. But once they hold up the trophy here in 10 days or so, they will be viewed as a champion and an all-time great team. So the series goes Thursday, Sunday, then we go Wednesday, then we go Friday for game 4. I don't know if it goes past that. If it does, it wraps around and goes to that Monday. So this could be done in 10 days or less here very easily. Under 5.5 games, I think, is a play. And if you go to FanDuel, plus 330 for the sweep, I think are both good plays. It's not widely available, but I think plus 300. I think anything at 3-1 or better, I think is a play here just based on the matchup. Nate Duncan had this tweet. I thought it was interesting. He made this point. Title teams to acquire their best player via trade. Garnett for the Celtics in '08, Kawhi Leonard for the Raptors in 2019, and whoever wins this series. It's very unusual because it'd be either SGA for OKC or Halliburton for the Pacers. Uh, Even Siakam was acquired through trade. So whoever wins this series, they will have gotten their best player through trade, which is interesting. It means you got to be lucky enough to draft your player, smart enough to draft your player that leads you to a title. You're lucky enough where your player that leads you to a title chooses you in free agency. Very rarely does somebody give you the best player on a title team via trade. I mean, those players just don't become available in trade very often. Kawhi was one where he wanted out. 1 year went with the Raptors. Warriors got hurt. They won. That was a really good Raptors team anyway, but they were beating a healthy Golden State team. And then Garnett was a similar situation where he played all those years in Minnesota, saying, you know what, get me out of here. I've given you enough time. We can't build a title team around me. I want to go. Goes to Boston. They win a title. But other than that, it really doesn't happen very often. You can't count sign and trades because those are free agent signings. That's just the team, getting something back in compensation. But those are decisions. Those are free agent decisions. That's not a team voluntarily giving away their best player via trade. But Halliburton traded from the Kings. SGA, what was a horrible, horrible trade for the Clippers. I get why they did it. They not only got Paul George, but that was the only way Kawhi was coming is if Paul George came with them. And they gave up so many picks and SGA and all that stuff. Just a horrendous trade. It wasn't completely indefensible at the time. It was an overpay, but it wasn't, nobody knew SGA was going to be this good. Even if you liked SGA, you probably didn't see this coming. But it is unusual here. It is unusual here that a title team gets their best player via trade. So we'll see. Should be fun to watch. Should be a lot of fireworks, a lot of offense, but I like OKC minus the 9. I like them. I had to play it under or over too. It's hard with OKC's defense to like the under, but considering the pace, I think Indy's going to want to run so much. Maybe you just play it. If you're adverse to laying the 9, maybe you just play the OKC team total over. And it'll be interesting to see because Carlisle's a good coach. Maybe Carlisle looks at it and says, you know what, I can't run and gun with these guys. Let me try to slow it down. 120.5 the team total for OKC. I would look to go over. And Carlisle is a great coach, Hall of Fame coach. One in a surprising title with the Mavs. Now he has this surprising run with the Pacers. He is an outstanding coach, but I think he is just outmanned here in this situation. So should be fun to watch. That starts here on Thursday. Stanley Cup Final starts on Wednesday. We'll get Mitch Moss's thoughts on that. Just quickly on the baseball, I talked about Luke Weaver, AL reliever of the year on the Monday show. Was recording it in the later stages of Dodgers Yankees, figuring, all right, what's the worst that can happen? Maybe he blows a save and a couple innings. This looks like a stupid bet. Well, he strains his hamstring, I guess, warming up in that Sunday night game. He strained his hamstring. He's out for 4 to 6 weeks. So that's a blow for the Yankees. That kills that bet. Just completely poorly timed. I did think that was the right angle. Fading Munoz, fading Miller, Weaver, AL reliever of the year, but that's just one, man. Can't make it up. Can't make it up. That's just poor timing. So, FanDuel limits me on this stuff anyway. So jokes on them. They cost themselves, limiting me. But Weaver out. We'll see. Devin Williams, I would guess, goes back into the closer role. They've got options there, but look, Weaver's really good, and that's going to be a blow to that bullpen. Dominguez dealing with an injury, so we'll keep an eye on that. Yankees playing Cleveland here on an ALCS rematch. The other noteworthy thing from baseball, Caglione, the big-time prospect, University of Florida, top draft pick, wasn't the number 1 overall, but picked at the top of the draft by Kansas City. He is now up. By the time you listen to this, hope have played his first game here against the Cardinals. Can he win Rookie of the Year? I mean, he could. These narratives change quickly with the awards, and if he comes up and he hits 3 homers in his first week, or he has a week where he hits 5 or 6 homers, sure, he can get back into this mix. Wilson has been really good for the A's. I know a lot of it is singles, and there's a lot of time left. So the thing is, is there any value currently at the number, considering the fact that he's got such, not a slow start, but he's giving away so much time here in the race. I don't know that at 10 to 1, I get it. Wilson's minus 400. I don't mind taking a shot at 10-1, but there is a lot of ground to make up. The rest of that market, Wilson's minus 400, Caglione 10-1, Dominguez 15-1. I don't even know why he's that high, especially now he's hurt. Cam Smith from the Astros 30-1, Will Warren 30-1. Had strung together some nice starts, but rough start to the season. Awful last start against the Dodgers. I get it. I mean, you got a Yankee starter who's pitching every 5 days, so he's gonna be in the mix, but would be hard for him to win this award. Then you got the two Red Sox guys, Campbell and Meyer, 35-1. Shane Smith, who's underrated for the White Sox, 35-1. Kurtz also from the A's, 35-1. Jack Leiter, weird to think he's still a rookie because he's made a few starts here in the majors in different seasons, but he just doesn't have the innings to not be considered a rookie. He's been better as of late. 40-1, not terrible. I think this is, again, long way to go. It's hard to predict this rookie. These rookie of the year awards because these narratives can change quickly. I do think Wilson is obviously a justified favorite, but this early in the season, injury, a slump, minus 400. There's no value in that, even though he does have a good head start here and he is a justified favorite. So we'll see what Mitch Moss thinks about this, get his thoughts on the pennant races, the NBA Finals, the NHL Stanley Cup. That is next. This is Shoulda Bet More podcast. All right, we are back. Shoulda Bet More podcast. You can catch him weekdays. Follow the money 4 to 7 Eastern, where he does a great job. Paulie Howard keeps him in check. Make sure he doesn't do anything irrational. He keeps a good eye on him. It's our buddy Mitch Moss. Mitch, it's been a while, buddy. How's everything?
Pretty well, man. How are you? What's shaking?
Always good, man. We are into the dead of the summer, recording this Tuesday morning, and it kind of hit home on Monday when you're sitting there looking for something to watch. No NBA, no NHL. Watching Rockies Marlins on a Monday night in the summer. It makes you realize that you know what, summer has arrived.
Actually, I'll say this. The Rockies are so bad that you can justify watching them. And I think that you absolutely have to be talking about them almost like on a daily basis. We might lead our show with them today, right? Because they won the game last night. Paulie had them plus 165. I don't know how you bet that team, but he did. He liked them. They came back to win last night. It's such a huge story with how bad they are. I honestly believe that they need to be discussed on a daily basis.
Let's get to it then. How have you been backing them? Because I feel like, or playing their games, because I feel like no matter what, I think if you ask most bettors, man, I'm not betting against them enough because how could you possibly bet against them enough? Do you have the appetite to lay these money lines, team totals? I know is the way people play it. There's just so many different ways to attack it. Have you done it? Have you done it enough? How have you been handling the Rockies?
Not nearly enough. Kind of like when I regretted not doing it enough last year against the White Sox. I've lost the one loser that I had recently is when they were taking on, it was game one at home against the Yankees. And they were throwing Gordon, who had horrible numbers. And it was just, the team total for the Yankees was 7.5. And the Knicks played that night, game two against the Pacers. So I'm like, well, the Yankees aren't going to lose this game. And I like the Knicks to bounce back against the Pacers. So I did a 2-team money line parlay. Both teams lost, of course. Both New York teams lost. So that was a loser. But if you go back when they played the Phillies a couple weeks ago, I was okay. I bet one game I think was like $1.78. I laid that. The other game was higher than $2. I laid that with the Phillies. So I have, those were winners. I haven't been doing that enough with the games that are around 3 or 4 to 1. Or I should say minus $3 or minus $4. And I haven't done enough money lines or run lines, I should say. So I need to start adding that because I do think, that this team, it's going to be a miracle if they win 40 games. So I need to start, betting them a little bit more, or against them, I should say.
Yeah, and some of those games when they were home against Philly and home against the Yankees, you were seeing 3.5 as a run line, which I don't think I've ever seen in a major league game. And one of them was like 4.5 minus like $1.60. I mean, you're talking about you got to win by 5 runs plus. It's insane. It's just unheard of stuff. It really is.
It was, that's similar to what we're watching right now with college baseball.
Right.
These teams laying 4.5, 5.5 runs. That can't happen in Major League Baseball, and yet here we are.
Let's get to some of these divisions. I'll leave it up to you. Which division race is most intriguing to you?
I have no idea what to do with the American League West. Because I do have the Mariners on a ticket at 33 to 1 to win the World Series. I bought on them low, expecting the pitching to come back at some point, and this is when the hitting really turned the corner this year, and they were getting big stuff from Cal Raleigh and Polanco and some others as well. I do think they're the best team in that division when they're fully healthy. I don't like this Astros team. I want to like the Rangers. I think at some point they're going to turn the corner, so I don't know how that's going to turn out. The National League East is super intriguing, and so is the West. Um, I mean, eventually, I think we all pretty much think the same way with the West that once the Dodgers get, and this has been incredible, Will, how many pitchers they've lost already this year due to injury. It's one guy after another, and they are going on stints that are longer than like the ordinary 10-day IL, stints that typically would be like, okay, it's something minor. These guys are missing weeks at a time or months. If they get healthy, just Ohtani is insane. And if he comes back to pitch, they'll probably run away with it. But as of right now, one game up at the Padres, only a few games up on the Giants. Those teams are pretty good. So intrigued how that's going to turn out. Is this thing with the Brewers real?
It's tough to say. It's tough to say. And the interesting thing to go back to Dodgers quickly. I mean, I remember doing it middle of the summer last year, like going through the injuries for the Dodgers. It was like 10, 12 deep of guys you heard of, like legitimate starters.
Yep.
And now it's happening all over again. You got to think, I think they've got 15 guys on the IL this year in terms of pitchers. You got to think it's not a coincidence at this point. For whatever reason, I mean, I don't know. I know all these guys, all these teams prioritize velocity and spin. I mean, I don't know why, and if they knew why, they'd obviously fix it. But geez, it can't be. I have a hard time thinking it's a coincidence at this point with all these pitching injuries year after year. Isn't it a little strange that Ohtani gets hurt August of 2023? We're in June of 2025. This is almost like a 2-year pitching injury. We were hearing last October he could maybe pitch in the playoffs. We're in June now, and he still hasn't been on the mound. Is it a little strange to you?
Yeah, but is that correlated maybe where they're like, all of our guys are getting hurt. We can't possibly
Maybe.
take a chance with him. But by the way, I had that same thought recently. Like, is that the training staff? Like, is it the personnel working in the Dodgers organization? Like, how does this happen year after year with a team where they're just completely crushed by all these injuries, right? And that was the biggest if going into the season, because if they stayed healthy, like if you told me in the early parts of March that they were going to only have like 1 or 2 injuries throughout the whole year, I would have pounded their win total over. But that was the biggest question mark, is like if they have injuries, and I have no idea because it's such a big number. I don't, how many games are they going to miss? How many guys are going to, be out for an extended amount of time? I don't know that answer, but it's over and over and over again. And I don't know, maybe we start to see Ohtani get on the mound, but post All-Star break.
I would think so. I would think so. It's been a long time, and I guess they're worried. I don't know about him re-injuring it, about losing him as a hitter, because he's been so productive as a hitter when he hasn't been pitching. That I don't know. It's just odd. I think people lose track of just how long it's been. You give him the benefit of the doubt as this two-way player. Well, he hasn't pitched since he was on the Angels. That's August of 2023. I mean, that was a few months before the Diamondbacks Rangers World Series. That's a long, long time ago.
Great point. Great point. I will bring up a couple of other teams too. I want to know if the Red Sox are going to make a run. I have a future on them. They are 6-16 in one-run games. Like, that's just, 10 games. You compare that to other teams in the league who are having some sustained success. The Padres are 12-5, for example, in one-run games. One of the best marks in all of Major League Baseball. The Mets are 13-8. You would think at some point that's going to correct, but also that's the kind of thing that can continue for maybe a full year, and then it would correct itself next year. But 10 games below 500, they have been a major flop. And the Braves, 4 games below 500. They going to get it together?
Yeah, I put those 3 teams in a bucket: Rangers, Braves, Red Sox. Those are teams that a lot of people had expectations for that are just not firing. And the Braves had the bad start. They worked their way back to 500, and now they're 4 games under again. I know you could say 100 something games left. There's a lot of time. There's a lot of talent. Acuna and Strider are back. You start to get to a point where you're trailing multiple teams by 10 games. We're not in August or September, but we're not in April anymore either. To be 10 back in June and you got to catch 2 teams, I guess they could make a run for a wild card. They certainly could. But I think the division is a very much a long shot now. And even, man, minus 140 to miss the playoffs when you're 5 games out and you're trailing just about all of these teams in the National League. Now, maybe this bet looks stupid in a month or 6 weeks and they get on a tear, but I don't know. Out of those 3 teams, which rank them in terms of who's most likely you think to get going versus not get going?
In the East, I got to go. Okay, those 3 teams we just talked about.
Yeah, Braves, Rangers, Red Sox.
I think Red Sox. I do, because I trust their lineup a lot. I don't know what to make with this Rangers lineup. Their pitching is obviously pretty damn awesome, but this is 2 months in, like you talked about. I don't know what we're going to get here moving forward. Corey Seager's got to come back and stay healthy, which he finally did come back. But is he going to go out again in the middle of this month? Like, does he make it to July? That guy's always been injury prone. I would say Boston, but maybe that's my heart talking because I do have them on a future ticket to win their division. And then I'd probably put the Braves second overall. But like you said, like good luck right now finding the 6 teams who are going to make the playoffs in the National League.
Let's go through it then. If I put you on the spot now and I said, give me the 6 in the National League, probably Mets and Phillies both get in. You'd agree?
Yes.
Put the Dodgers in. We'll put the Cubs in the Central. Probably that's 4.
Yeah.
Who are the other 2?
Oh my God, it's a phenomenal question. I mean, it probably comes down to. I'm going to throw a bunch of teams out there. It probably comes down to Braves, Brewers, Padres. Is this Cardinals thing? Golly, they were so good in the month of May. And they also, by the way, I think have a pretty decent June so they can maybe sustain this. And I think you got to kind of include the Giants as well.
Sure.
That's like 5 teams. I think other people would say the Diamondbacks got to be in there. But now, I mean, that did not look good with Corbin Burns.
No, and their pen's been a disaster too.
Yep.
Their pen's been really bad, and who knows? I guess I saw something yesterday where the imaging is not as bad as they thought with Burns, but again, I mean, their bullpen's just atrocious right now, and you're not going to have Burns, I would think, for at least a few weeks, if not more. And they've dug themselves a hole where they're a few games under. You could throw them into the bucket with these teams that are disappointing.
Yeah, yeah. I want to know, like, if this run right now by Yelich, boy, is he blazing hot. Like, if that dude stays healthy, then that's a big if. But they have a very good track record of making it work with kind of a patchwork rotation. Their bullpen has always been kind of decent. They can lose guys and just plug other guys in and be okay. I'm intrigued by Milwaukee because if Yelich stays healthy for the remainder of the season, or pretty much the most of the year, I think Milwaukee might be a team that's going to squeak in.
American League, let's try the same exercise. I would imagine you put the Yankees in. I'd imagine you put Detroit in. So we got to find the other 4.
You got to love the Tigers.
Yeah, I mean, Schoolball's basically just like an automatic 7 innings, 1 run or better. I mean, he's just on another level. So how do we get the other 4 playoff teams? It's hard to count anybody from the East as an automatic playoff team.
Right.
The Central probably get a wild card. I don't know what you do with the West. So we'll put the Yankees in. We'll put the Tigers in. Who are the other 4 playoff teams?
This is probably more difficult than the National League. I'll go Mariners. I believe in them. Again, once they get healthy. I think there is something here with this offense now. The turnaround from last year is real with Edgar Martinez being, the hitting coach. I don't really buy into the Blue Jays. I can't. The Rays have been okay. I don't know if I can buy into them. Orioles are a total disaster. I'd say maybe the Twins. You know what? The Royals, as I look at the standings here, they just called up the super hot prospect.
Yeah, Caglione,
who's plus 650 to hit home run today, by the way. You want a little piece of that?
Not bad.
Because I like their pitching staff, again, when Reagans comes back. But Bubic, I think this thing is absolutely real 2 months into the season, a Cy Young contender. We saw what Wacha did over the weekend. I'll say the Royals will get in. Maybe the Rangers. I don't buy into the Astros. I'm sorry, I just can't. Maybe the Rangers sneak in. That's like 5 teams right there.
Yeah. It's interesting. Last one on baseball. Any awards, futures that you think are worth making a bet currently?
I did recently bet Bubic at 40. He's down to 20. Going to be very difficult to overcome Skubal, obviously. Do you have anything on Caglione to win American League Rookie of the Year?
I think I grabbed something before the season. It's just going to be so hard to catch Wilson, isn't it? I mean, Wilson's got a good 2-month head start. I understand if he comes up and he hits 2 homers in his first game and 4 homers in his first week. These things can change quickly, but I just think Wilson, with what he's doing, is going to be really, really hard to catch. So
totally
I'm hoping for it.
Yep. I bet this kid the Mets called up on Tuesday morning, Mauricio, I bet him at 50 to 1 to win the National League Rookie of the Year. I know that he was recently 200 to 1 like 2 weeks ago. I did not grab that number, but I bet him. I think the National League Rookie of the Year is absolutely wide open. I also have that Logan Henderson kid for the Brewers, who had three like the best starts ever for a kid making his first 3 starts, and then the Brewers sent him down, which is just baffling to me. But they've been red hot since. I think that market is completely wide open. And let me ask you this. So I'm sitting on some monster tickets on Pete Crow Armstrong to win the MVP in the National League, like 70 to 1 and 110 to 1.
Wow.
He's second now behind Ohtani. Ohtani is like minus 260. He has 16 home runs since May 1st, Will. And if he goes back on the mound, that's going to be mission impossible, I think, to overcome that. Do I need to lay 260 right now? Because I think Pete Crow Armstrong is going to put together a season. I think this is sustainable for him.
Probably not the worst idea to grab something at the minus 260. And then you know what? If it goes south, then your Armstrong ticket's even better.
Yeah,
Probably not the worst idea.
yeah. So other than that, I mean, the American League MVP is my buddy in Seattle has been urging me to bet Cal Raleigh to win the MVP. It was 120 to 1 over the weekend, now down to 25 to 1. The only way somebody gets into the mix is if Judge gets hurt.
Yeah. Got to miss 6 weeks too. A month, 6 weeks. It
Yep.
can't just be like the brief stay on the IL, which I mean, those numbers, when you just look at him versus the field, it's absurd considering, late May, early June, but without an injury, unless he just went into a massive slump, I mean, it's really hard to make a case for anybody else.
Yeah, I would agree. And maybe the National League Cy Young is a little bit open as well. Scheme's been awesome lately,
Right.
but I'm not betting him at plus 240 or anything like that in that range. There's no way.
Wheeler solid as a rock, but he had a bad start. Was it Thursday in that doubleheader against the Braves? So who knows? Still a lot of time left. That's what makes these awards fun. How great is the college baseball event? Murray State winning,
Ah,
Arkansas Little Rock couldn't hang up, but man, what a fun tournament this has been so far. So many upsets.
oh, I love it. I mean, to see the top two seeds go down like that on the opening weekend. Little Rock had a 5-1 lead against LSU on Monday night. That was after they beat them, and they were a 14 to 1 dog to win that game on Sunday night. They were 12 to 1 Monday night. And at Circa, before the tournament started, Little Rock was 5,000 to 1 to win the whole thing. Imagine they win that game over LSU and they get into the Super Regionals, right?
Unbelievable.
But Murray State 700, Texas San Antonio was like 175 to 1. You got to love to see this, man. It's completely wide open the way it appears.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It really is. It's been great. NBA, let's get to NBA and NHL before we get out of here. Because I have a hard time seeing Indy be competitive here. I know they're a fun story, the pace, all that stuff. I just feel like they're trying to fight fire with fire. They play so fast. They play up tempo. I feel like that plays right into OKC's hands. I get OKC has not been a great road team here, but to me, this is a very short series. Do you want to make a case here for the underdog at all?
I don't know if I really can. I mean, unless this thing with Oklahoma City and their troubles on the road continues, then we're going to have a series, right? Because it has not been great for them. And maybe there's one of those Minnesota games in there too where they get kind of blown out. And we've seen the Pacers do that at home to other teams so far in the playoffs as well. I lean like 5, maybe 6 games. And I think Indiana does present some problems here, but we're starting to see Oklahoma City play to their power rating and the team that we watched over 82 games, right? I mean, they struggled there against Memphis for a couple of games. Denver was absolutely a much tougher series than I thought. But in those home games again, they absolutely annihilated the Nuggets, did the same thing against the Timberwolves. And that's the team that just, went from October to April in the regular season. And all these historical numbers are starting to pan out. And they just have so many guys that they can throw at Halliburton and make life a living hell in this series that it's going to be very difficult for Indiana, obviously, hence the series price. My favorite bet so far is a series long bet. BetMGM was offering, they have a ton of guys, right? Like how many points are they going to average for the series? I took, this is not a fun bet, Will. This is going to be probably one where it's going to be very excruciating to watch. But I bet SGA to average under 33.5 points per game in the series. It's a massive. I would bet Michael Jordan under 33.5, I think. That's a huge number, and so many things have to go right to go over that.
Especially if there's some blowouts and they pull them out early in the fourth quarter, one or two of these games. I mean, all it takes is one, 17, 21-point game, and that bet is a winner. So again, like you said, that's not close your eyes, don't look at the box score, don't count the buckets because that's not going to be fun, but I think you're on the right side of that one.
Yeah, yeah. Overall, what's your favorite bet? Just short series?
OKC to sweeps plus 330 at FanDuel. I just think they get the first two at home. They're probably like a 4.5-point favorite in game 3. Maybe you can buy back on some Indiana plus the points in game 3. And then if it ever got to game 4 when it's 3-0, you're sitting pretty. I just think it's a bad matchup. I understand the road woes. I get all that. I just think Denver had the recipe where you slow them down, you drag them into a half court, you muck it up, trying to run with them, trying to push the pace and push the tempo. I mean, whether it's the NBA, NFL, NCAA tournament, you want to slow these teams down when they're better. You want to get them in a different style. I think this plays right into OKC's hands. I just think it's a bad matchup.
Yeah. And oh, by the way, Denver also has the best player in the world.
Exactly. Exactly. NHL, what are you looking for here? Probably a long series. Any lean here with Panthers Oilers? Any way you're playing this?
You know what? There was a, I don't know if I want to call it rogue or not, but Westgate here in Las Vegas, they had 11-1 on Draisaitl to win the Conn Smythe. So a very small bet, pizza money on that, because do I really think Draisaitl is going to win if Edmonton takes on the series? Probably not. It'll probably go to McDavid. This is more of my heart. I really want to see McDavid and Draisaitl win one, though. Nothing against Florida, whatever. I love to see the best players get over the hump eventually. They almost did last year. So I haven't bet it that way, but I think it's going to be a grind, and I might bet the series to go over the amount of games posted. I think this has 6, 7 games written all over it.
Series price or series correct score, Edmonton in 7, like plus 450. Is that enough for you to take a shot?
Yeah, that would be something I would take a shot at.
Yeah. All right, Mitch. Appreciate it, man. Follow the money,
Buddy.
4 to 7 Easterns at Mitch Moss Radio on X, on Twitter. Where else can we find you?
That's pretty much it. I post only photos of my 1-year-old son on Instagram, so that probably is appealing to 0 people watching this right now. So,
all right, Mitch. Appreciate the time, man. Hopefully,
hi, buddy.
Soon. Thanks for coming on. See ya.
Thanks, pal. Have a good week. Okay.
All right. Thanks to Mitch Moss. Rate, review, subscribe. Apple, Spotify, goldboys.com is where you check out the Discord. We'll be back Friday. Game 1 of the finals will be in the books for the NBA and the NHL. See you Friday.